everybody, this is Dr. Flight. Hope you're doing great. It's good to be reaching out to you today. I'll do a short little video on how we think of and how we track, define an attractive target market. This is kind of after we look into segmenting. We've effectively segmented our market, and we're looking at different groups of consumers that have something in common with each other. There's some similarities or homogeneity within subjects or within customers that are in a market segment. And the question is, when we look at a market segment, what exactly makes one more attractive than another? So the point here is that you could do a strategy where you do mass marketing, where you try to reach everybody who has a need for your product, and it becomes efficient. Your cost per customer goes down, but your ability to customize and be unique to customers diminishes. So there's a trade-off there. And so instead of doing a mass market type of a strategy, a lot of times we adopt an idea of targeting specific groups of consumers because of certain criteria, because those groups of customers, those groups of markets or segments are attractive to us, and they make sense for us to do. So there's a number of different ways. The textbook outlines a whole bunch in 4 different categories. I'm going to go through the top ones that seem the most relevant, mostly focused on market factors and competitive factors. And this is a deal where you can create a systematic method for measuring and then grading, if you will, or applying some metrics to each of these criteria by market segment, and then ranking market segments as those that are most attractive and then those that are least. And so that's kind of more of a scientific-y way, I guess, of sorting through market segments and deciding which ones are the best for you to reach. But be that as it may, that's something that we will do. So when we look at competitors and the competitive landscape, think of who is currently serving the market segment that you're looking at, that you're targeting, and how competitive is it? Are there a lot of competitors? Is it one, and who they are and how much market share they have? Can we compete against them? Those types of things. So again, this is like we're looking at specific market segments and the characteristics of them, and like, can we be in that market segment? Can we serve them without a lot of direct competitors? And or is it a deal where there are a lot of direct competitors, but we feel like we can join them, or we feel like we can offer a better solution and we can knock some of them out of business or out of that market segment anyways. That's kind of what we think of there. Threats of substitution is another one. We'll pull up these others as well. When we're in a market segment, we want to know how likely it is somebody new will come along and threaten us. So that's a competitive threat. Threat of substitutions. We've looked at those when we've analyzed competitors. Another idea here when we look at how attractive a market is our product or our value proposition we're bringing to the market, to this segment. Can we distinguish ourselves from others? Do we have a unique sales element? I mean, is it something that we have that we can clearly identify distinctions between us and our competitors for this market segment? Can we stand out? Can we compete that way on points of differentiation in this market segment effectively? Right? And then tied into all this, I mentioned it already, is this idea of market share, and this is a degree of competitiveness as well. It's a metric that we're going to use. When I'm in this market, can I effectively capture market share that I'm satisfied with? And again, this is a competitive like analysis type thing. Start talking about market share. I get that it's the consumer, how many consumers relative to other firms do you can win over, but it's largely dictated on how well you compete with others, right? How strong are your other competitors, and how much of a distinctive advantage does my product have over theirs? Those translate into market share. And so this is very much so a reflection of competitive intensity and strength and your ability to compete. If you look at market share relative to others, you'll get a good sense of that. Okay, so again, when we look at an attractive market segment, we want ones with low competitive intensity. We don't want lots of competitors we have to deal with. We want one that we're able to gain market share and hold it for a sustainable amount of time. We don't want constant threats of new entrants all the time and things like that. Okay, so again, you could take these items, you could actually create metrics for these each, and you could assess market segments based on these concepts. When we start looking at the market or the customer, what makes an attractive market are really just a few things. I'm going to pull these up because they're a little scattered here, but the volume or size of the market. Again, we often need a capacity level of sales or a volume of sales to break even. That's one of those things that we think about in terms of operations. When we're producing a product or service, we have fixed costs that have to be distributed, and the more you sell, the lower those fixed costs are by unit or by sale. Because fixed costs are fixed, the more units you create, the lower proportion of fixed costs are assigned to each unit of production. So the greater the volume, the more efficient the company generally runs. So the question is the market large enough that will our sales be large enough? Will our share be sufficient enough in this large market to make those capacity issues and operational costs make sense? That's kind of, again, volume is important, and it can be important, but also is it growing? Is it shrinking? Is that market segment moving dynamically that is positive for future sales? If you are in a market segment that's stagnant and you don't do anything to increase market share, then your sales will be stagnant. They'll be consistent, but they won't be growing. And that's an important thing to think about. Again, future expectations of that market segment lend themselves to be either more attractive or less attractive. Customer sensitivity towards price is certainly a consideration. So we do price elasticity of demand. Are the customers, if I change my price or if I change elements of my product, will customers very quickly move away from my product to another or to a substitute? Or will they be loyal? Will they stay with my product? Will price not, or other marketing aspects, not be an influence to cause demand or sales to drop dramatically? And so there's this relationship between the things we do in the 4 Ps, price being one of them, and demand or sales for the product. And so to the degree in which I change my marketing mix, what percentage change will I see in sales? And is it very elastic or inelastic? Is it very, very dramatic or not? That's basically the question. Another thing, it's super subjective, but how loyal are your customers? How committed are they in that market segment? Market segments vary by these measures like loyalty. Do they switch? Do they not? Are they committed to your brand? Those types of things. Some market segments, because of kind of the psychological makeup of them, are more so than others, and that lends itself, again, the more committed they are to your brand or to a product that they buy, I should say that, the better that market segment appears. All right, so other things, strategic fit. This is again a little bit of a subjective thing, but um, some companies have a purpose or a DNA or an image, a brand image maybe, that fits well with the market segment. We also think about like the things our company is distinctive about or known for, or what sets them apart from others. Is that something that the market segment that you're looking at, will they value that? Will they appreciate that? Our experience with the market, those types of things, the market's experience with us, again, makes a difference. And so sometimes we think about this as a social business fit type of a thing. A couple other things: the stage and the maturity of the market. Some markets are brand new and they're just emerging. Emerging markets, developing markets need to be developed. They're young, they're early. Think of early product life cycle purchasers, or think of markets the same way. Market maturity and how old the market is, not chronologically like how old the people are, but how long has the market been established for? And is it a new created market based on some technology or something that's happened, or is it an older market that's well established and well created, or very old? So that could be one way to think about this. We also think about scope a little bit, and when we do say scope, we mean like, is it highly regionalized or highly localized or regionalized, or is it nationally kind of a thing, or is it international? That's a scope issue in terms of where this market exists, kind of in the big scheme of things. Profitability, for sure, is another thing. Again, this encompasses a lot of factors. One, how much are customers willing to spend? How much are they willing to pay? What is their price sensitivity? Can you extract what we call customer surplus from them? Will they pay more for our product than they would for others' products? Is there a price premium that would pay? So revenue side of things is one where the customers are willing to pay, what they're willing to pay. Are they going to be super price sensitive or not? But then the other side of it is our costs, right? When we talk about profitability, there's two components. There's the revenue side of what the customers are willing to bring to the table, but then there's our ability to reach the customers at cost points that can be lowered. Can we be efficient when we reach this market? Can we be more efficient than our competitors, especially? And what is our cost arrangement? And so combining those two things, reaching a market in a cost lowering manner, or a way that allows us to be efficient, while simultaneously finding a market that is willing to pay price premiums, creates a far more profitable environment for us, that we're able to have. So margins, so profit margin is kind of an important kind of consideration at the end of the day. Remember, you don't need, when you're talking about revenue, you don't necessarily need high volumes of sales. If you have a very strong profit margin, you can have fewer sales and make more money if your profit margin is high. So that's always a consideration when we think about, especially talk about like niche markets where are small, well-defined market segments, but typically they're willing to pay more for your product, and your profit margins are usually much higher in a niche environment than they would be in a mass market environment, for instance. All right. So again, looking at this profitability thing, here's a little chart. This exciting product category called silicon sealants. We have three different groups of consumers. We have the electronic markets, the industrial markets, and the construction markets. So we have three different market profiles, if you will, or market segments. But each of which would be willing to pay different amounts, I guess, if you will, for this product. They're price sensitive in different ways. So the construction markets, they're going to buy more volume. probably. The product may be a little bit more generic in nature. Their price point's a lot lower too, at $6 a unit. Industrial markets will maybe need some products that are a little bit more specialized. They go through a different distribution channel, or channel to get the product. They're a little bit, they pay a little bit more. And then you've got the electronic markets, which have probably a very specialized product, and the tolerances of the product probably need to be very, very big, or very fine, if you will. And their product that they need has more demands on it in terms of what they're doing with it, and they pay the most per unit. So we have three different market segments. So which of these market segments, though, are most attractive? Well, look at the demand numbers. The electronics is much lower than industrial, which is much lower than construction. If we look at probably thousands of units, or whatever it is, and the examples, 100 units versus 300 units versus 800 units. So the construction market is 8 times larger than the electronics market in size. So think of that volume, how much volume they're gonna create. Think about this market share idea. And this is a company who, they enter each of these three markets. This market share varies by market segment. They have a much stronger position in the electronics market segment, even though it's a smaller one volume wise. That's kind of where it is. And you can kind of pause the video if you need to or want to, and you can kind of see the differences in each of these three market segments and this attractiveness thing. And ultimately we've got gross profit, we have percent margins that are listed. 60% margin on the electronics space market segment, 20% down with the construction market segment. So smaller market share but higher volume. We make that trade-off there. And we look at other elements, marketing, sales, expenses, and how effective our marketing is in each one of those spaces. We're able to reach, for instance, the electronics market segment much better with our marketing efforts. Return on sales, marketing return on investments, higher in both of those particular categories. So just think about which of these three market segments are best, are most attractive to us, and kind of consider that as kind of a summation, if you will, of evaluating market segments. And this is a real good illustration of how we can put numbers and metrics to some of these concepts, and it makes sense for us. Now, these are all profit related, sales and market share related numbers. These don't incorporate some of these other elements that we just described, like fit and things like that. But again, it's a good example of how we might evaluate three different market segments and the role each of the three play inside the firm. Okay. Again, some other things that, just to kind of summarize and kind of wrap up, you've seen a chart like this before, where we have the firm's ability to meet the market, or their capabilities or their strengths, competitive strengths, if you will, on the y-axis, up and down, from weak, average to strong. Across the top we have another dimension, which again, we've seen the same chart before. It was a 2x2 chart before, now it's a 3x3 chart, so there are 9 cells, and market attractiveness goes from unattractive to attractive. So this is a little flipped a little bit, where we have unattractive and weak at the upper left. We clearly want to avoid market segments that we score and find themselves down there. Down below, far right, bottom right, then these are spaces that we feel are better for us, right? And we want to try to put ourselves into those market segments that, when we evaluate them, fall into the prime target or secondary target areas. So again, as an example, here's this is kind of just, again, it's vague a little, but there are 7 different market segments in this illustration, and a company took the 7 market segments and they evaluated each of the 7 based on these criteria we've talked about, like how large the markets are, how attractive they look overall, how profitable they are, how much market share we could have in each one of them. And then what you can do is rank and place in order a rank ordering of those that you feel are the most attractive down to the least. And so, and kind of where those have fallen on this chart, you see one, we have a strong competitive, we're strongly competitive in this market segment. And the market attractiveness is average. It's okay, it's good. So it's not super attractive, but it's not bad, and this turns out to be the most the best that we have. Whereas 4, you see, while we have a strong ability to reach this market, it is an unattractive space or unattractive area. And it's not that it's bad, it's just it's less attractive than some of the others, right? So it's a 4, it's not a 2 or 3. Those are in areas where markets are attractive. Now, these markets that are attractive, 2 and 3, we're probably going to need to develop some skills and resources to reach them better, to be more effective in how we can deliver products to them that they want, because we don't have necessarily a strong competitive advantage with those market segments, but if we did, then they'd be very, very, very good markets for us to be into. So that's why 2 and 3 are listed up there. Those are skills that we can develop, and we can go further into. Those might be our peripheral type businesses, whereas 4 might be an illusionary type one, or just depending on how it goes, we could think of those as in different ways. The last application, and again, this is just kind of some tools you might think about, illustrations on how you might visualize some of this. The last one that we have deal with this picture we've seen before. It's a product market matrix, if you will, or grid. The text offers you this illustration, but if we have, again, in the columns we have products and services, and then in the rows we have different market segments, then we have this idea of the company's product offering matching up with an attractive market segment, and how we create products and we create parts of the company that are designed specifically for markets that are attractive. And in this case, you'll see some of the different boxes are colored in an orangey color, and that might be our core product. We have a core product for a specific market segment, and then we have some secondary products, and these secondary markets, if you will, are peripheral markets, where we definitely want to take care of the core market that the product was designed for, but in addition to that, there may be some peripheral or, again, adjacent markets that could be satisfied by our product, and we would use them in that sense. Okay, so this is a video then talks about how we define an attractive market. A good amount of research goes into this, as you can imagine. The sorting and the ordering of markets by most desirable to least is a big takeaway that you should be thinking about. And when you justify going into a new market, then you need to be able to have the criteria to say this is why we should go into this new market, or why this market's attractive to us and this other one isn't. It's based on this criteria, and that's what this video has helped illustrate. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in. I'll speak to you soon. Hope you're having a great day. Bye.